Welcome to the Great Rude Awakening. When you're the plumber, you gotta find out where the clog is, no matter how nasty the environment. That's how I see the current predicament. As a Kabbalist, I try to understand why God put certain things together in creation. For example, why do we have two arms and not four, two eyes but not three? Why did God make a wife for man, saying it is not good for man to be alone? These are things I ponder regarding the system of things. I envision the matrix as having mechanisms, like any machine or engine with certain built-in triggers. If we learn how to read the results of our 3D world, we can also understand the changes that need to be made and where to apply them. This presentation is Epitaph Technology Part 3, The Coming Together, produced by Cavetronics Dimensional Art, that uses Brian Prater's formula for over unity combined in AI art. The artwork and narrative is conceptualized and designed by me, Melissa Cody, and my spiritual team of invisible quiet advisors. This recording is from today, which is Thursday still. Thursday night, October 10th, 2024, from Salem, Missouri. Let's get started. In this presentation, we will explore 5 of the 22 major arcana of the ancient tarot as it pertains to Huhub's predictive software and the over unity gaming concept. The major arcana tarot cards to be described are the Empress, the Lovers, the High Priestess, the Chariot, and the Star. Just in case some tarot card readers or numerologists are wondering about the order of things, there is a broad variety of information herein. So for the presentation's narrative purpose, both the order of tarot card numbers and the story itself were a little mixed up, but the details are meant to be the focal point. And the same applies to the last video from the mid-year review in July. When I started making these videos about Huhub last year, I never knew the consciousness would carry me to the point of defending myself, my voice, my talents, and skills in my work. But the information that has emerged this year has startled me to the core, and this presentation divulges information and visual diagrams of how I see with my third eye what is happening in the psychic realm. Once again, this information is placed in a box, a container of over unity gaming. This presentation details an old story about stars, those buried and resurrected in the basement, as one card reader worded it. Once again, I don't remember dying or coming back to life and coughing up dirt, but I will describe another theory that may account for the split between two kingdoms through the scope of Huhub's core predictive modeling, which was discussed in last video, Epitaph Part 2, titled Cosmic Alien Bikers Dragons on Wheels. This video's information is an expansion of that information with further details and programming structure for an emerging over unity gaming concept, which I first introduced in the Valentine's Day video, wherein I discussed reality as it was coming up in my psychic awareness. I called it being a blood in the land of crypts, but I also see it as two kingdoms, an upper and lower realm, which when broken, it feels almost like being split between timelines and relationships. For some background information, since my awakening in late 2022, I have had to feel my way through the shifts in reality. The world looks about the same as it always did, with expected minor changes as time goes on. But the psycho-spiritual realm, as well as the narratives throughout the media, denoted big changes happening right under our noses. Most all media narratives switched to an oddball Hegelian dialectic-like style that left out details and gave hints of a new type of framework with minor changes of wording and how terms are used about our reality, that is. This is especially noticeable in AI-driven media. Not only that, as I have mentioned several times before in previous videos, I was and still am under severe psychic attack and more. For example, one night while writing the script, someone drugged my dog again. This is the second or third time that has happened while my dog was outside in his fenced-in area of the back porch. One day someone left what appeared to be fentanyl pills wrapped in bread in a sandwich bag. Luckily, the dog didn't get that dose. So we're being gang stalked in real life even now, to include possible watchers wearing invisibility cloaking walking right in front of my home. It causes the dog to go nuts even when I can't see anything or anyone moving. Last year when making these videos, I realized my challenge was to make the invisible visible to others. This slide's background image is a custom AI-generated tarot card for the chariot associated with the number 7. Notice the 4 corners and 4 wheels of the chariot. In the spiritual realm, time is not experienced in the same way, and spiritual entities can breach the human understanding of time and space in the 3D. As many religious and spiritual type people know, the spiritual entities can communicate with us rather directly. From the time I was just a child in Pentecostal churches, I have communicated with the Holy Spirit through prayer. For me, discussion about a relationship with God was familiar and commonplace growing up as a preacher's kid in North Carolina. Until recent years, I would never have imagined being filled with the Holy Spirit would put someone on a terrorist watch list or make them a target of the FBI, governments, psyops, and rich people around the world. In the last video from July, using symbols of the tarot, I discussed the storylines emerging from what I envision as the predictive behavior of the humanitarian software concept that my husband and I have been developing for many years. The focus was on the tower. The tower, Twin Towers, Trump Tower, and the Tower of Babylon are related symbols of our current experiences. In a way, we're all in a big tower moment as a collective consciousness. This tower moment is meant to reveal the hidden problems, deliver justice, and regain balance. Towers seem to be acceptable talk in the censored world we live in, but discussion on the chariot and the Holy Spirit is sent into the media bin for controversy, conspiracies, and UFOs. But I'm here to say that I didn't need a crafty shot to gain a function, but some wise, transparent, and clear communications between groups of people, which would have been nice to avoid disasters. Which is one of the main reasons for Who Hub humanitarian software. Got a good pair of eyes? The feminine energy of the High Priestess is next in line from the Magician, considered as the masculine energy represented by the number 1. In the Judeo-Christianity, some well-known masculine characters held such positions, namely Joseph, who was raised as a pharaoh in Egypt after being held as a slave in prison. And in Christianity, Jesus holds the position of high priest, which relates to the Hierophant and number 5, associated with the embodiment of tradition or the body of a religion, and the one who distributes spiritual knowledge derived from foundational wisdom and tradition. People in modern society are often very familiar with the patriarchs and their physical outward energy, whereas the divine feminine seems to be much less spoken of, and certainly much less understood. But that is changing. It's all in your head, they say, until it's everywhere, or so it seems. If, and that's a big if, there are actual simulation results from prediction software that's being tested already, we may see the value of the divine feminine energy in a new way. The third card in the tarot, the Empress, precedes the Emperor, whose masculine energy is represented by the number 4. The Empress, however, comes first whenever judgment on earth is necessary due to men failing to lead, or in a relationship a man failing to lead. The Empress, a principal character or player in the tarot, expresses the soul ties and interactions we have in the 3D reality. In the upright position, as a principal player on earth, she holds a crown. Being an empress, she has her third eye activated as a high priestess. This represents her brain's frontal lobe, an executive center responsible for decision making. In the tarot, the Empress is one of the 22 major arcana cards. Tarot includes 4 suits: pentacles, swords, wands, and cups. Just like playing cards, those suits have royal court cards that include queens and kings. The Empress embodies all 4 queens in the tarot, just like an emperor embodies all 4 kings. It is worth mentioning that both the Empress and the Emperor can stand alone and do not have a requirement of being in the union of marriage to hold their position, authority, and crown. Notice that the number 6 card in the major arcana, the Lovers, is linked to alignment. When the lovers come into union, they experience a realignment, such as a union threads etheric cords through our soul. Past relationships are also known as karmic relationships because karma is accrued with our interactions with others. Karmic ties affect soul ascension, which is a process. The more cords, the longer it takes to unwind those, and the longer it takes to ascend from 3D. The New Testament parable from the book of John, chapter 4, concerning the woman at the well who asked Jesus for a drink of water, may offer some insight into this etheric matter. In summary, when she asked for water, their conversation was threaded with talk about how she had 5 husbands and was currently in a civil union with someone at her home. Then Jesus told her to go and get her husband first and then come back for living water. The main point, which may be easily ignored, is the speech itself, the word as water, living water. The sheep know their shepherd's voice. The familiar spirits come through one's speech, language, attitude, and all verbal and nonverbal communications. Sometimes it seems as if we've known each other before, and maybe even many lifetimes. The lovers represent a kingdom spouse, which I've heard it called recently, which is a divine connection created for the benefit of personal growth and happiness. You may be familiar with the phrase, as above, so below. Tarot cards are read differently according to their upright or inverse position, which concept is reflected in the upper right-hand corner of this slide. And the Smart Art diagram corresponds with slide 21 of the previous presentation for Epitaph Part 2. Another parallel to this concept is the Kabbalistic tree of life known as the Sephirot, which is coupled as an upper and lower Sephirot, each side reflecting the 10 emanations. It is also worth mentioning that the human body has at least 2 chakra systems. Some argue there's more. The first of which you may be familiar with, starting at the root chakra or sexual organs, and those continue to be placed in energetic centers in the body, going upwards past the third eye chakra and to the very top, to the crown chakra. I believe that this may be related to Jesus' teachings from the King James Version of the New Testament when he said, "The kingdom of God is within you," from Luke 17:21. And this from Matthew 6:22, The light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. This is said to be a Buddhist teaching about the illumination of the third eye chakra, whereby one opens heaven within. Are you sleeping, Brother John? Brother John? Morning bells are ringing, morning bells are ringing, ding dang dong, ding dang dong. This is a song monks sang about waking each other at the midnight hour. This is the French version. Frère Jacques, dormez-vous, dormez-vous. Sunny la mattina, din din don, din din don. This slide describes a type of spiritual monetary institution set up for death and rebirth cycles inside of a prediction software, preferably, where it can be in a box, that is. The Bible talks about two kingdoms, or the separation of kingdoms. Some may think of it as heaven or hell, but it may be simple as the separation of the physical body and the mental body. Like a magnetic attraction, there is a physical tug at the soul level that can be felt, and it is undeniable. It is a physical feeling when you get pulled like that. Our root chakra relationship is tied to the ability to create wealth. Therefore, if our root chakra relationship, which is often a spouse, partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, lover, is broken in some way, then the wealth is also impaired in some way, whether that results in delays in distribution of wealth or dry periods of unemployment and lack of funds. When nothing new can be created, a relationship can stagnate. Drought and stagnant water are the opposite of the living water and more like the devil card from tarot, of which, according to the Jungian Tarot by Robert Wang, the devil represents frugality, where only science is taken seriously, and where religion's intuition and the psyche are considered as nonsense. The devil represents materialism itself, devoid of emotion. This, in my opinion, correlates with the Christian view of marriage. Just hear me out. Where the husband must love his wife, but she does not have that demand on her. Rather, she is placed in submission and commanded to respect her husband. She is his foundation at his root. From her perspective, he is her crown, therefore joined in union. This matters a lot when it comes to the karmic threads that energetically arise during an awakening, if there is a break in such a union that is producing wealth of some sort. This is in my opinion, part of the mystery of Christ and the church, and the reason for the emphasis on each person to submit to Christ themselves. Therefore, spouses can come together in truth and reciprocity. This is an example of how you get two heads for the same crown, or two crowns for one throne. It is like the statue of Nebuchadnezzar's feet of clay, which is mud that easily crumbles under the weight of itself. The head of the statue had a heavy golden head, and it was stacked on layers of lesser quality metals downwards to the mere feet of clay, which was one of the main ingredients when making man. And so the clay is symbolic of the physical human body, which is at rest with Christ as the head. I find it intriguing that in the Christian New Testament, In Matthew, the tax collector's account of Jesus' teaching in chapter 22, verse 30, he wrote that, "For when the dead rise, they will neither marry nor be given in marriage. In this respect, they will be like the angels in heaven." When applied to and modeled within a money magic system, it makes sense why a psychic tarot card reader on social media recently said that the Empress in the in verse was left fighting for her own rib because her real life husband turned out to be a karmic emanation and not a real rooted connection. Interoperability is important to merge two or more worlds, whether those represent the two tiers of the two-tier justice system or the real world versus an augmented one, etc. Communication saves souls. In the land of the dead, oversight and surveillance of the starseed children rising from the ashes may not only be warranted, but also welcome in certain environments. Thank you. Using Christianity as a relief from karma is a serious error that causes problems for souls on another level often unseen. Our actions generate karma, whether it is good karma or bad karma. Even our monetary transactions or exchanges of goods can create karmic threads, especially if the magical intent is present during the transaction. These and other karmic threads can get bound up together over time from compression at the end of a cycle, like a stack of a stack of souls, thought forms, demons, or electrons, depending on your perspective. During the past couple of years, I've been surprised by the knowledge that came during a new level of psychic awakening, through which I've been undergoing a spiritual cleansing and cord untangling and cutting of etheric threads to people that I would not believe could even know me, or karmic cords to other people who have been out of my life for decades. Some may call this experience a dark night of the soul or an ego death. But whatever it is, I can attest that karma is real, and it doesn't matter what God or Son of God you worship, there are universal laws, like gravity, for example, that are difficult or impossible to overcome. The biblical "you reap what you sow" has not changed, and it was not just a saying, but a learned wisdom about how the spiritual world works. I act by faith mostly, or I try to do so, along with a large measure of caution, which is why it takes me so long to make a decision on big things in life. However, I feel in my heart that Hub somehow has been split into two or more groups, and I feel like an island to myself, trying to act as a bridge as much as possible. If you look to the left of this slide, you see the data points A, B, and C, which correspond to how I envision the soul-stacked karmic bundles. But I would like to say it also reminds me of three main points brought out on Truth and Art TV recently. To chime in agreement with psychologist Dr. Bernie Suarez, he believes one of the fundamental structures of our reality must include justice, logic, and morality. These 3 points balance each other and should result in a positive system of reciprocity, harmony, peace, and happiness. This slide displays a collage of ideas gathered from pop culture, social media narratives, and my psychic conceptualization of what is happening in the physical and etheric realms. This is due to judgment, spiritual judgment, which occurs in heavenly courts and is described in part through the tarot. The entities that arise are karmic personas or other intelligences, but those entities are felt only by the mental body, so to speak. They are not seen, but they are often aided by real-world remote control type psyops that target persons to make them believe they are not themselves. Although in war, that may be a smart tactic, but when this concept is applied in the legal system against civilians, it is suspicious. This slide's background artwork is how I conceptualize my experiences through my awakening journey. Much like a writer or actor may have many voices in their head that they draw inspiration from or critique from, karmic energies have emerged like a basket of deplorables through my process of awakening. Their purpose is reflection, identification, and judgment. Some curse, some bless. Both represent aspects of ourselves, both good and bad, upright and in burst. This is the magical mental realm, the creative psychic space, related to one's south node, to be kept under wraps, protected, in the same way the Egyptian pharaoh's tomb and coffin were sealed. From one perspective, what seemed terrible, from the other, a blessing. As above, so below. Alchemizing the energy includes organization of thought, so that rather than become a destroyer of worlds like Oppenheimer, one can still sit firmly on the mercy seat at the right hand of God while he acts as your attorney if you find yourself stranded in hell. There's a lot of information that I want to address on this slide. The background image is similar to the last slide's artwork, which is my conceptualization of the ancestors and soul tribe family structure of people unfolding like petals of a flower, usually around my head and upper torso, just like that. This is how I can best describe my psychic awareness of various energetic beings. The Holy Spirit worked with my communication skills in the spiritual arena decades ago, and after years I was able to talk to angels. They come and match my energy, and they would just come and go, usually to distribute information. Usually a word, maybe a phrase, maybe a whole message. However, a couple of years ago, I felt invaded all of a sudden. From psychic and dream invasion, the strange part is I could identify the new energies as people in the common world. Some celebrities, politicians, royalty, and more. They seemed very friendly for a while, as if they were simply looking over my shoulders as I worked on college homework and art. I was wondering what was going on. It felt like I was on a world stage somehow, yet sitting in my own home minding my business. The people and their energetic attitude seemed to shift as I started making the Agnosis video last year, though. Nowadays, having worked this problem, I would consider those as enemy teams, spies that steal assets for pennies on some other off-worldly or off-world market, perhaps. The problem became so spiritually cumbersome that my ancestors and family members started kicking in. I could feel their unique energies around me as protection. These protection energies are the soul tribe, the good guys, allies. However, they may also represent karmic threads that need some type of healing or removal before ascension. The same goes for the enemy-based teams, which is meant for gaming only and not to be used on private citizens or used to weaponize spouses against each other. Unless that's the goal for whatever reason. Sometimes, like in my case, it may be the only way out as part of a powerful message meant to pierce the upper echelons of spiritual cords, and bodies of consciousness, if for no other reason than to be discovered in what seems like hell from here, as if I resurrected in a bot world psyops graveyard. Now, I honestly did not think of my world in such terms or like that until about 2 years ago, until I have been inundated by all media that I've been basically left behind. So, in order to get the message through the massive obstacles of communication suppression and censorship, I had to alchemize the situation into something useful and desirable to the money makers and powerful hungry sharks in the ether or elsewhere hiding from the real world, or at least mine. To switch gears, the next piece of information important on this slide is a representation of the biblical Nebuchadnezzar's statue made of stacks of various metals. Each stack represents a different era in history. For example, the head of gold represents the kingdom of ancient Babylon. The silver chest represents the reign from the Medo-Persia area. This is at their height. Nebuchadnezzar's thighs of brass metal represent the era of ancient Greece at its height of prominence in history, and the legs of iron represent Rome, and lastly, the feet of iron and clay represent our currently divided world since Roman times, which some claim represents Anglo-America. The feet are made up of partly metal and partly clay, which is easily crumbled under the weight of time, lack of communication, broken relationships, and terrible laws. The loss of knowledge as time goes on is a good way to describe the pinch points that behave like shut-off valves in a system. These breaks or pinch points suppress communication and isolate people, dumbing them down as their wealth crumbles, resources go away, and the world deteriorates before their eyes. You can think of the stacks of various metals as representation of the leaders of those eras and their quality of leadership, guidelines, morality, and codes, and the standards that mirror the wealth that stems from their wealth of knowledge. Notice the statue has but two pieces of clothing, covering the crown and root chakra areas of the Bible, the head and sexual organs for privacy. The covering here relates to masks, illusions, veils, and so on. Also, it seems from listening between the lines to online court trials that these stacks, as I call them, may have their own accountant and corporate administrative heads that are most likely unknown to the original soul affected by it. On the topic of leadership, wealth, and the divine feminine, the Queen of Pentacles is ruled by the astrological earth signs, who are industrious by nature. The symbol of Pentacles represents coins, and this queen's wealth is well earned. As mentioned in the last video also, personality traits could be modeled in WhoHub's prediction software using tarot as the symbolic image descriptors for a WhoHub user's personality traits. Also, WhoHub's merit system could include a gaming concept integrated that allows for personal growth, that opens up new tarot card levels for certain aspects of self, such as the Magician or the High Priestess, for example. When it comes to predicting best couples, kings and queens of the same suit are paired together in tarot. To incorporate this feature, already established personality tests could be used to define personality traits, IQ tests, and other tests like Myers-Briggs personality test and WhoHub user integration can be used in this way. These results can be used for relationship matches or employment placement, but should not stop there. If it works well enough, it can be useful to suggest new friendships or business contacts. I suggest rigorous pre-testing, perhaps using a dating app with lots of feedback and custom research before using it for employment placement, as far as the tarot being an employment placement. But with those other traits involved too, it should work well. The fog is thick in hell, and the illusion is so great you need a method to be able to observe a problem in the matrix. And for me, that came in the form of new narratives and a big shift in media and entertainment. The narratives hinted at a difference of realms using word formations that I had never heard before. This is also one way that I can sometimes distinguish AI-driven content. For example, among YouTube's tarot card readers, there's a common phrase, "you and your person," mentioned, which makes me ask the question, what do you mean by my person? Is that a business or corporate legal term? Is that a reference to my lover, spouse, boyfriend, or something like that? Or do you mean my person as in my body, or perhaps a spiritual host? This presentation's information is part of the wealth of knowledge to be poured out as described in the book of Daniel. As you can see from the background image and the traditional tarot card on the left, the star or earth angel pours out her best offerings of her works of art and wisdom into the waters of consciousness. The body of water is large, representing the scale of distribution of her communications, or the scale of effects from her voice, so to speak. The star is represented by the number 17, and the star therefore embodies all the tarot that came before it. Therefore, the star has accumulated a lot of knowledge and may have many talents and well-practiced skills. The star may be activated if her heart is broken, because she feels the harm done through etheric cords. She is a deeply rooted old soul. The star can see through the illusion, which is symbolized by the water pouring from the cup, like a break in reality, a crack in the matrix. Her psycho-spiritual self can sense the change in dynamics of her mind, body, and surroundings. The number 17 is also associated with the intelligence field in modern times. You may remember from the Valentine's Day presentation in 2024 that I mentioned about a female character named Lucy in Over Unity Gaming. Her soul stacks include Joan of Arc to represent her heart's mission. Helena Blavatsky represents Lucy's tongue, which is sharp and cuts both ways. And her crown corresponds with my birthday, and it represents the English crown. From the male side of the two-piece Trojan, as discussed on slide number 34 of the Valentine's Day video, the males include Nikola Tesla, Aleister Crowley, and L. Ron Hubbard. These men, along with Helena Blavatsky, may have been involved in creating the methodology to help lost souls who got stuck in the land of the shade due to people's immense greed and a demonic grip on our life energy and thoughts, so that one kingdom is bound to another, sucking off of it like a parasite while depriving the kingdom responsible for the new growth and fruit. The souls are the same way that got stuck in the mix. The souls produce fruit but never get to eat from their own gardens in this awful situation that must change. I have dealt with the demonic oppression all my life, and about 20 years ago I requested that I could get recorded by the angels, day and night, just so I could have a witness to what was happening in my life. I never saw anyone filming me. And it was my assumption all the recording was done by angels in the angelic realm, so to speak. Yet more recently, I realized that the filming may have been done by spy agencies in Hollywood instead. And nowadays, from what I hear in the chatter, everyone is a platform themselves, of which I assume we are broadcasting into either the ether with every whisper and thought form. So bodily autonomy and private intellectual property rights are serious legal issues of this moment in time. From what I inferred from the chatter in the so-called Truther MAGA community, spies are paid pennies for bits of information that they steal from people like myself and my husband, who worked for decades as a scientist, inventor, and engineer while successfully expanding the work of Nikola Tesla. I think it's interesting to note that the Ukrainian Blavatsky died that same year that Tesla became a citizen of the United States, which was 1891. These types of people from metaphysical and scientific groups have been working together for a long time to create new types of technologies, of which are first formulated in the mind and then in the ether before coming into 3D reality. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope you enjoyed the latest in sleek craft. I didn't mention anything about undercover elections or marketing challenges, but I surely hope you can extract such information yourself from the information provided. I also hope you enjoyed Cavetronics dimensional art. If you would like to see more of this type of art, learn about an awesome humanitarian software concept, and much more, check us out on YouTube at WhoHub Humanitarian Software 208. By the way, our whohub.tech website and forum is offline. We had persistent server crashes and drastic changes on the back end, which made working on the site too difficult. I may in the future, not sure when, put up an all new site on a new server. In the meanwhile, I have a question for you all to respond to however you can. Does WhoHub already exist in your reality? Anyway, take care of yourselves and your realities. Have a great day. Bye for now.